If a cop in Bismarck uses his weapon in the line of duty, does the public have the right to know his identity? That's a pretty good question. I say yes, they do. Apparently, I'm in the minority on this one, though. You let me know what you think right now. Number 663-1270. Jim Walsh at Supertalk 1270, online at supertalk1270.com. I really would love to hear from you on this today. Of course, what we're talking about is a couple of weeks ago, there was an incident here in Bismarck involving a policeman. It was a Sunday morning, and this policeman pulled into the parking lot at a local motel. This is how I understand the story. He pulled in there. He was there to answer a call about something that was apparently not related to what happened next. He pulled up. He was getting ready to get out of his car when this guy jumped him, attacked him while he was still in the car, right? And they started struggling, and the guy was hitting the cop. He was swinging at him, and he was trying to stab him. And the officer said he was punched in the head. The guy gouged his eyes. And first, he tried to use the taser on the guy. He tried to zap him, taser him into submission. That apparently didn't work. So the next option was he drew his, what they call his service weapon, his firearm, and he shot the guy in the gut. That stopped him. Did not kill him, though. They put the guy in the hospital. The officer was treated and released, and, of course, an investigation followed. It's still going on, as we understand. Now, yesterday, there were some people outside the office of the Bismarck Tribune voicing opposition to the Tribune for the fact that they had run a news story in which they gave the name of the officer who was involved in the shooting. He shot the suspect as he was attacked, responding to a call. And a lot of these people, well, the officer himself and a lot of his supporters with this organization called Back the Blue, they've got a webpage they've got their own page on Facebook, Back the Blue Bismarck. If you enter that in the search, you'll find him. And he and a lot of the people supporting him on this webpage have invoked Marsy's Law, the new law approved by the voters, which supposedly expands the right of crime victims. They're saying in accordance with Marsy's Law, he has a right to privacy. He has a right not to have his name in the papers. Now, to point out the obvious, well, it should be obvious, it was the first thing I thought about, was what are the current laws regarding this kind of thing? And the fact is, the Tribune got their information from court records, from court documents, which by law are a matter of public record. They have been, and presumably for the time being, they will continue to be public record. The Marsy's Law thing is still kind of in the twilight zone. They're still trying to figure out exactly what it is, how to enforce it, whether to enforce it, what aspects to enforce. It's a mess. It's a real mess. And I've said before, it's a bad law. This is the kind of problem you have when you try to change the constitution of your state by means of a referendum. It was not intended to be that way. We're not supposed to live in a pure democracy. Trust me, you would not want to live in a pure democracy. You know what a pure democracy is? A pure democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner. And this is a bad law. Now, bad laws do get passed anyway. But at least most of the bad laws go through the proper protocol. With these referenda, they try to make an end run around the whole process. I got a problem with that, but let's stick to the issue at hand here. The main question in my mind is this. If a policeman discharges his weapon in the line of duty, of course there should be an investigation to make sure everything is on the up and up. They have a whole set of procedures in place to deal with this kind of thing. But should the officer's name be a matter of public record? I say yes. The public does have a right to know when someone on the police force, who are, of course, civil servants, they are there to protect and serve. The key word there is serve. As an extension, as an arm of the government, they are there to protect the public. The public is entitled to know if an officer has discharged his or her weapon in the line of duty. This, to me, seems to be a no-brainer, but apparently not. Do you really want a society where police officers are protected from having their identity released to the public in the event of something like this happening? I don't. This is one of those safeguards we have against situations where the shooting is not on the up and up. I'm obviously playing this down because I don't want anybody to misunderstand me. I'm not sitting here going, oh, the cops are fascist pigs and all that. Well, no, they're not. Not the majority of them, but some of them are corrupt. Some cops are bad guys. And because of that, when an officer discharges a firearm, uses what they call deadly force, the public needs to know everything that they should know about it, including the identity of the officer involved. That, to me, goes with the territory. A lot of people think that we do too much to make the cop's job hard. While I do not favor going out of our way to make it harder than necessary, I would remind you that in a republic like ours, not a democracy, a republic, the job of a law enforcement official by its nature is going to be kind of difficult. Because on top of everything else, the officer is there to enforce the peace, keep the peace, and catch the criminals so they can be prosecuted. But while doing that, he or she also has to be involved in protecting the rights of ordinary citizens from criminal elements, including potentially criminal elements inside his own department. So what I'm saying is this: yes, the officer's name should be a matter of public record. Apparently, there's not a lot of people on Facebook who agree with me about this. There's a page on Facebook where you can talk about local news items for the city of Bismarck, and of course they get the people just come out of the woodwork on something like this. Hey, protect the rights, back the blue, back the blue. And I say, wait a minute. Who is protecting us from our protectors? Who is watching the watchers? Maybe you're... I'll tell you some of the other stupid things people say in defense of laws like this. We'll get to that in a minute. Love to hear from you, though. Number 663-1270. Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. Be right back.
Currently 20.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Time to wonder what it must be like to strap on a gun. Hello. Are we fritzing out there? There it is. Oh, I had this whole shtick I was going to do it. It just kind of blew my thing right out of the water there. I was going to say what it must be like to be a cop. Long arm of the law. The thin blue line between civilization and anarchy. You will respect my authority. Is that right, Cartman? Thank you. All right, on a more serious note, the question is, when a policeman discharges his or her weapon in the line of duty, Generally, the name of the officer is made available for public scrutiny. Should that be the case? I say yes. I say yes. It's important that we do that. The public has a right to know. And it's not based on a judgment of whether the cop is necessarily guilty or not. The public should know about something like that. I would not want to live in a society where anybody is protected from the consequences of their actions, including the people who enforce the law. Hell, especially the people who enforce the law. It's called having an open government, not wanting to hide anything. And what is it the law and order types always like to say? Well, if he's not guilty, he's got nothing to worry about. Well, yeah. In this case, I would say that's very much the case. So where do you stand on this? Maybe you're with the Back the Blue gang, the pro-police. You know, I love the way they put that. We're in favor of the police. Which means, of course, if you disagree with them, then all of a sudden you're against the police. Well, no, we all know good and damn well the world doesn't work like that. It's a little more complicated than that, Einstein. So come on. But seriously, where do you stand on this? If a cop shoots somebody, and let's assume it's completely justifiable, completely on the up and up, but there is an investigation. That's protocol. That's the way it should be. And as part of the investigation, as it stands now, the officer's name will be made a matter of public record in the court documents. Should that be the case? I say yes. Number here is, and that's pretty much standard procedure, I think, in most places, 663-1270. They're trying to invoke this Marsy's Law thing. Well, this Marsy's Law thing is a mess anyway for a lot of reasons. And Marsy's Law, is it in effect or not? You know, damned if I know. From what I've seen, it's kind of in the legal twilight zone right now. They can't figure out what to do with it. Well, it's a bad law to begin with for a lot of reasons. But the bottom line here is if an officer has to use their weapon in the line of duty, should the name be a matter of public record? And I would suggest yes, by all means. It's a matter of protecting the public from potential corruption. That's where I stand. Number 663-1270. If you differ, yeah, I don't bite. You know, I'm like some people on these talk shows. I'm not going to bite your head off because you don't toe the party line to a T. I'm actually a very friendly guy. Now, I've been told that by many of my enemies. Anyway, all right, 663-1270, 663-1270. Moving right along now, you know, I don't like to talk about the Trump thing because everybody in the world, every other talk show host on the planet goes on and on ad nauseum about what Trump is doing. Oh, isn't Trump wonderful? Did you hear what he did this and he did that or whatever? Did you hear about this woman who got fired for flipping off the presidential motorcade? There's an actual picture of this. You can find it. It's all over. It's all over the net this morning. It's all over Facebook and the social media. Somebody actually snapped a picture of this woman on her bicycle as a bunch of limos and it looks like an SUV in the picture. I don't know, but according to the caption, it was part of the president's motorcade. And as they're going by, the woman flips them off, or just gives the old Bronx salute, as we call it, that ancient Roman thing with the middle finger there. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And he's like, hey, you're number one, right? I don't think that's what she was saying, but long story short, so the president's motorcade goes by and she flips him off and she gets fired. Now, should she have been fired? I don't think they should have fired her. Do they have the right to fire her? I'm inclined to say yes, although it's tricky only because the company she works for, and here's where we get into kind of a quagmire on this. Her employer is a government contractor. So is it government? Well, yes, but no. But libertarian that I am, I'm inclined to say if she worked for a private company, even if they contract with the government, it's still a private company. And in a state like Virginia, which, like North Dakota, is a right-to-work employment at will state, people can get fired anytime for any given any reason or no reason at all. But I would still defend their right to do so. But having said that, I don't think they should do so. You see what I'm saying? See, it's possible to defend somebody's right to do something without saying they should do it. You know what I mean? And that's where I am on this one. Do they have the right to do it? Yeah, but should they have done it? Probably not, unless if other issues were involved, I would guess they would have told us. But let's assume for the case of argument that this woman did her job. She was fairly competent. And she just didn't like Trump. Hey, I don't like Trump either. I wouldn't flip him off, though. Presidential motorcade went by. And I've seen the presidential motorcade, not with the current administration, but I've been in places where it drove by. And basically what I do is I just sit there and watch. I don't want to make trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. But, I figure I can express my opinion in a lot of other ways that are going to be more effective anyway. But generally, when the presidential motorcade goes by, and if it was Mr. Trump, I'd do exactly the same thing. I would just kind of look at it, maybe see if I could catch his eye, kind of nod at him, all the time thinking, oh, you poor, pathetic bastard. What have you gotten yourself into? Dude, I would not want to be in your shoes right about now. See, I actually feel sorry for the guy. He's so far over his head. But that's just me. But assuming there's nothing funny going on about this, was this company, this government contractor, but nonetheless a private company, did they have the right to do it? Yes, but should they have done it? I say no. I say it's kind of stupid. Free speech and all that. I mean, yes, freedom of speech is to protect you from the government, not from private enterprise. Private enterprise can still do a lot of things, and they don't have to worry about the First Amendment. But in this case, because she was expressing an opinion about the government, it gets a little trickier now, doesn't it? I would say they shouldn't. I wish they hadn't fired her. I thought that was a bad thing they did. And where do you stand on the issue? I would enjoy very much hearing your take. Number here is 663-1270, 663-1270. Just to be consistent about everything today, I'll give you the lady's name. It's Julie Briskman. Her employer, government contractor, Akima LLC. Apparently, they saw the photo that somebody had snapped, social media, of her flipping the bide to the presidential motorcade, so they fired her over it. Now, in a Saturday interview with the Huffington Post, Ms. Briskman, who is a 50-year-old mother of two, said she was stunned, and that someone had taken a picture of her flipping off Mr. Trump. As a photo circulated online, Ms. Briskman decided to tell her HR department. Oh, I love those people, the HR people. They're just they're just totally intolerable. Ever had to deal with one of these HR clowns? Oh, they're lovely people, let me tell you. But anyway, she decided that she would come forward, and she went to HR. She says, look, you need to know that I was riding along, and the motor came by, and I did this, and somebody got a picture, and you may be hearing about it. So she did the right thing there, certainly, coming forward like that. So she went back to Monday. She went to HR. And by Tuesday, she was being called in for a meeting. And we all know what's coming there. Oh, they're probably going to give me a raise. No. Called her in the meeting, said she had violated the company's social media policy by using the photo as her profile picture on Twitter and Facebook. And they said, I love this, we are separating from you. Don't you love that? Talk about your classic use of Orwellian understatement. We are separating from you. That's what they said to Marie Antoinette, you know. Oh, we're separating your head from the rest of your person. I see. Okay. Have fun. Basically, they said you cannot have lewd or obscene things in your social media. So they were saying, basically what they were saying was that doing what she did to the guy was obscene. And as John Lennon is famous for saying, he said women should be obscene and not heard. But in this case, the woman flipped off the presidential motorcade, which to me is just basically free speech. But the company she worked for, because they're a government contractor, they probably got some pressure. We all know that that our current commander-in-chief is a petty and vindictive kind of guy, and I wouldn't put it past him for 1 New York minute to say, somebody get that broad, take care of her, get her ass fired. I wouldn't. He hasn't exactly earned the benefit of the doubt, now has he? No, indeed. Anyway, got more fun things to talk about and some serious stuff to get to as well. I'll talk about that in just a bit here. Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com. Jim Walsh and you. Be right back.
Currently 20.
News and Views with Joel Heitkamp. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as I got my plastic cheeses sitting on the dashboard of my car.
Everybody say hi-aliyah.
Comes in colors pink and pleasant, glows in the dark 'cause it's iridescent. Take it with you when you travel far.
Well, glory J to Bezos, as Marjo once said. Remember Marjo? Marjo! He was great. I liked him. He was in this really awful movie one time. It had nothing to do with his career as a preacher. He was in a version of the H.G. Wells movie, Food of the Gods. Oh, it was great. It was cheesy as all get out. It was like a big, giant pot of film fondue you could jump right into. It was that cheesy. Anyway. All right, Jim Walsh here. I set this up because I am utterly revolted today. Yes, I am revolting. You certainly are. No, I am just thoroughly disgusted today about the comments from these Bible-thumping twits on the Fox News channel. You know, I'm not a religious person. I'm an atheist. And I try not to let it get in the way of doing an interesting, entertaining program. I try not to, get too personally involved with people's religious views. A lot of times people say things on a public forum, and you kind of bite your tongue because it's really not the direction I want to take this show. And I don't want to turn this show into a long and drawn out debate on theological. I don't want to turn the show into a theological seminary, all right? Don't want to do that. But that being said, no, I'm not religious. And sometimes these idiots on TV, they say something that is just so beyond the pale. I've heard two things in particular. There was a guy who called last night on what's his name? Bohannon's show. Bohannon was not on. It was Walter Sterling, who, by the way, is a great guy. I know Walter. He's not a friend, an acquaintance, okay? But I've met him. He's a very nice man. He does a great job with that show. But he had this guy on last night talking about the shooting, the church shooting in Texas. And he was one of these guys. He was saying, basically what he said was, the people in the church had it coming because they didn't prepare themselves by arming themselves to protect themselves and their family. I thought, what a horrible thing to say. I wish I had the clip here. To the best of my knowledge, I'm trying to remember exactly how he put it, but basically what he was saying was, These people, they should have had weapons of their own to protect themselves. And in not doing so, basically, it was their fault they got killed. Where do you come off saying something like that, no matter where you stand on this issue? How totally inappropriate is that? How cruel and stupid a statement is that to make? Well, that is only the second stupidest and cruelest thing I've heard from somebody on a commentary show in the last couple of days. There is this issue of the Fox TV show. What's the name of the TV show? Fox and Friends, Fox and Fiends, as we like to call it. And they were interviewing the governor of Texas, who himself is kind of a horse's, north end of a southbound horse. And he's one of these holy rollers, and everything's about God and the Lord provides and all this crap. Well, anyway, listen to what Ainsley Earnhardt, the broad on this program, listen to her comments here. Let me roll this for you. Listen to what she said while conversing with Governor Butthead about what happened to these people in that church.
We've been reporting this shouldn't happen in a church, but I was downstairs talking with some people that work here that we all talk about our faith and we share the same beliefs. We were saying there's no other place we would want to go other than church, because I'm there asking for forgiveness. I feel very close to Christ when I'm there. So I'm trying to look at some positives here and know that those people are with the Lord now and experiencing eternity and no more suffering, no more sadness anymore.
Can you believe that somebody in this day and age would actually say something as stupid and callous and cruel and pointless as that? No, Miss Earhart, they were not taken home by the Lord. They were shot down in cold blood by a guy with a big-ass gun. And you can debate the merits of the gun control argument all you want, and that's fine. I got no problem with that. But don't turn this into some goddamn fairy tale, please. Thank you. I remember when my mother died, I had an aunt, lovely lady, but superstitious as all get out. I don't mean just religious. I mean she would say with a perfectly straight face, "Oh, we had fairies dancing in the backyard last night." Yeah, she'd say stuff like that. Believed in it, believed in everything. And I'm with her the night after my mother passed, and this is going 17, 18 years ago. It was late October, as a matter of fact. And we're in a car, and we're going somewhere, something that had to do with the funeral arrangements, I think. And my aunt, lovely lady, like I said, in many ways, she looks up at the sky, it was nighttime, and sees this big star, and she points to it, and she says, "You know who that is? That's your mother looking down on you right now." Boy, did I have to bite. I bit my tongue so hard I almost bit the damn thing off. I was livid. Kathleen, here I am trying to deal with one of the greatest losses that anybody can deal with in their life, and you have to turn it into a stupid fairy story. I told my father about it, my aunt's brother. My father's my aunt's brother. And my father was and is a very devoutly religious man, but he was pissed. And my brother was pissed. So I knew it just wasn't me, but this is the kind of, these people who turn every tragedy into some kind of silly Davy and Goliath fairy tale. "I'm sorry your grandmother died, Davy, but she's in a better place now." That's what I think of, All of a sudden, everybody becomes 5 years old, and we're supposed to write it off as just a nice fairy tale ending where everybody goes to be with the Lord. Not with the Lord. They got their guts shot out. Jesus. And even if you are a religious person, how can you put up with something like this? This is just beyond. This has to be, well, okay. This is far and away the second stupidest thing I have ever heard said regarding one of these tragedies. I'm sure in the years to come, and sadly we know it'll happen again, I'm sure in the years to come we may even hear things that are stupider, but I think Ainsley here really sets the bar high for that. Stupid bar. But even then, she is only the second stupid. Well, the guy from last night who said that they had to come in because they didn't have guns, he was the third stupidest. This is the second stupidest. The absolute stupidest thing I ever heard regarding to a shooting was after Columbine, when some clown called a local talk show and blamed it on, get this, the theory of evolution. Because with that theory, we're taught to believe we're no more than animals. So that's why people... Yeah, because, of course, Christian fundamentalists never do anything violent, do they? Right. It's like that one wacko right-wing website that published an article saying there's no such thing as a Christian terrorist. I would think the friends and family of all those doctors who got blown away a few years ago, they might have a difference of opinion on that subject. No such thing as a Christian terrorist. Oh, boy, I don't know. Anyway, coming up, a couple of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the talking head media in general, not the mainstream media or the lamestream media, which is another phrase that I'm really sick of hearing. Yeah, it takes a lot of imagination to come up with that. Yeah, how many thousands of people have said that? And it was never very clever to begin with. But I want to talk about the way a lot of people in the media, including the so-called talk radio people, have dealt with this issue in Texas. And not very well. I'll give you a spoiler there. I don't think they've handled it very well, and I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. Has nothing to do with well, it does have to do with the political bends, but probably not in the way you think. You're thinking I'm going to jump on the mainstream media, liberal, this, that. No, I'm not, actually. I'm actually primarily going to go after my fellow squawk radio hosts. I wouldn't give you a plug nickel for 99% of them. But we're going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about some developments regarding the flu vaccine and why it didn't work very well last year. And you'll be interested to hear about this. Got your flu shot yet? You should. Seriously. You're stupid if you don't get your flu shot. I don't care about the reasons, no. Even you people who are not into the whole wacky Jenny McCarthy thing, you got to get a flu shot. Come on. Yeah, you just don't be stupid. All right, but we'll talk about that. Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com. Jim Walsh and you in just a bit.
Ready for Christmas Day.
Getting ready for Christmas. Let's name.
So, you ready for Christmas yet? Or, like me, do you think it's a bit too early yet? I know Santa Claus is going to make his official appearance here in Bismarck on November the 11th, which, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is still way too early. When I was a kid, we didn't even start to talk seriously about Christmas until after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was like the official time when you'd have the Thanksgiving Day parade from Macy's or wherever it was in New York, and you see Underdog and you see a big giant chicken balloon and whatever, super chicken, I guess. But at the end of the parade would be Santa Claus. And the guy, the Grand Marshal or the guy doing the parade would always say, and with the arrival of Santa Claus, we officially begin the Christmas holiday shopping season for 19, whatever the year is today. So, and there you go. To me, that was always a good place to put it. An official time from which we can begin to start getting all worked up over Christmas. That would be the Thanksgiving, at the end of the Thanksgiving parade. So you have Thanksgiving dinner. A lot of families, they have Thanksgiving dinner, and then they say, oh, let's get in the car. We'll go look at the Christmas lights. And off they go, Sertoma Park, they usually start their thing right after Thanksgiving. Usually the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. I mean, that's why it's Black Friday, it's because people are just starting to, they're saying, okay, we can think about Christmas now, and they go and they do their shopping. That is a good time to start thinking about the Christmas season. Any earlier, it's really too soon. Enough with the holiday creep, please. We got stores in this town that actually have their Christmas trees up before Labor Day weekend. The hell? When I was a kid, you thought about Christmas. And usually when school started, it was kind of in the back of your mind, but you didn't give it that much thought because it was just so far away. It was too far away to really think about it seriously. You looked forward to it, but it was still, it was just, you had too many other things to deal with. Going back to school, and then you have Halloween coming up in the fall season, and football at school and all that other stuff, and then Thanksgiving. Then you take it one holiday at a time, and then you get to Thanksgiving, and then you start to think about Christmas. That's the way it should be. But no, we got to have Santa Claus on November the 11th. Isn't that Veterans Day? I wonder how the veterans feel about that one. Okay, let's take your holiday, the day set aside to honor you, and we'll use it for our gaudy Christmas promotion. Yeah, way to go, guys. See, that's the real reason you fought in the Tet Offensive, was to protect our right to, push holiday creep down everybody's throats. Well, I'm on a roll today, ain't I? Anyway, okay, I want to talk very quickly here about the flu vaccine, some developments. A story here regarding, specifically it's about last year's flu vaccine from the University of Pennsylvania, a lovely place. I know it well. University of Pennsylvania researcher says he thinks he knows why the flu vaccine didn't work so well last year. Now get this, they use eggs to grow the virus. That's why when you go in for the shot, they ask you if you're allergic to eggs. You know that? Well, that's the reason, is because they actually use eggs to incubate the virus. And they grow a version of the virus, and then they kill the virus, and they shoot the virus in you, but the virus is dead, so you build up a resistance so you don't get the live version of the virus later on. Okay, that's your med school 101 there. But apparently they used chicken eggs to grow the virus in the batch last year. Apparently, the chicken eggs have a quality that mutates the virus and makes it less effective. I don't know, they're like X-Men viruses. I don't know. They turn into little mutants with big giant feet and big claws coming out of their hands, like, what's his name, Wolverine there. It mutates the virus, and that makes some of the vaccines, what they do, one thing they do, because, people who can't handle eggs, people with the egg allergies, they have a special vaccine for them that they make without chicken eggs. And now some people are thinking maybe they should look into doing that for everybody now. Give everybody the other virus without the chicken eggs, because it won't be mutated. It won't be full of whatever is in there that
monkey baby.
Whatever it is that mutates the virus. And this is the kind of thing that's fascinating. Have you had I haven't had my shot yet. I want to get it, though. I get it every year. I don't care what happens. I get it. Sometimes I feel a little crappy after I get it. Sometimes I catch a cold after I get. Several times I have caught a cold after getting my flu vaccine, but I don't believe it's the flu vaccine. It has more to do with the fact that time of year, I tend to get a lot of colds. I get colds whether I get the shot or not. So I think you're crazy if you don't get your flu shot, really. Unless you have some really, truly legitimate reason for not getting it. I don't know what that would be. Because Jenny McCarthy says you shouldn't. That's not a legitimate reason, okay? But anyway, so University of Pennsylvania, I suppose we should thank them. Oh, they got a picture here of the virus. It looks like one of them Daleks from Doctor Who. With all the little things sticking out of it. We are viruses. We are here to make you sick. We are mutated from eggs. We came out of chickens. Okay. Anyway. So this year, but do get your shot. You're better. Believe me, you're better off with it without all this antivirus stuff. what's the other thing? The autism. It's a lot of malarkey. It doesn't hold up. Trust me on that one. Okay, do the research yourself, but. Promise me that when you do the research, you won't just look at, right-wing wacko conspiracybuff.com. You'll look at some of the more legitimate sources like, the Mayo Clinic. They have a good website, or Johns Hopkins, they have a website, or the AMA, Oh, well, they're part of the conspiracy. Right. I've been thinking a lot about conspiracies this week because of the JFK thing. 3 guesses where I stand on that. Yeah, Oswald, he did it. I know he did it. The evidence is right there in front of your face. He did it. As far as I'm concerned, Gerald Posner had the final word on that subject. All right, one final quick note here. If you're looking for a special gift for the baby boomer in your life for this Christmas holiday shopping, they have released an original, I can't even call it a director's cut. It's the original lost 3-hour version of the original Superman movie, which was, and always will be, in my mind, the best of the superhero comic book movies that ever came out. And here we go. The theme from the planet Krypton. It shone like a great green jewel in the heavens. And they show you the thing, and there it is. And then it goes boom, and explodes. Well, apparently this DVD of Superman with the Christopher Reeve version, they have a lot of the edits that they did, like when they showed it on TV. They enhanced certain things. When they finally ran it on TV, it wasn't a director's cut, but they kind of enhanced certain things for the TV audience, for the small screen. Like, I know for a fact that when Krypton explodes in the TV version, they enhanced it with a lot of different sound effects to make it, like a planet exploding is not cool enough. They got to make it really soup it up. You know what I mean? Well, that's what they did, and it's definitely worth getting. If you're going to buy me an expensive holiday gift, get me that version of the 3-hour. Lost 3-hour Superman DVD with Christopher Reeve, who was, is, and always will be the original Man of Steel. I'm done. Comments welcome. Supertalk1270.com. I'm Jim Walsh. Thanks for listening.